Emily Kaplan and Clinton Yates. The shocking news from Tampa. Bruce Arians stepping down. The stunning reality that a World Cup will include the United States, and the mystifying Austin Rivers ejection. Let's go around that horn.
The violent act.
Frank, stop elbowing us.
Delicious was the word.
Secession is way more important to me. This has been my dream for a long time. Guys that know me, they knew I wanted one of my guys to take over.
Bruce Arians this afternoon, after the sudden news, although the team knew about it weeks ago, the sudden news. Remember, guys, you remember the dramatic squirrel? That's what that was. The sudden news that he was stepping down and Todd Bowles was taking over. Arians today talking about how important succession is for this team. And Todd Bowles promoted from defensive coordinator to head coach. Conspiracy theories abound last night that Tom Brady and Bruce Arians' relationship had something to do with this, or maybe didn't have something to do with this. But the report was Brady knew within the first day of coming back that Arians was moving on as well. So you can have your conspiracy theories, but nota bene that. Clinton Yates, around the horn to you. How does this affect the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I got to say, the first thought for most people is whether or not it keeps Tom Brady in town, but I'm on a different track with Arians. I want to give this guy his flowers at this moment. He's a dude that back when he was an offensive coordinator for the Steelers, managed to have success, thought he might be out of a job, ends up in Arizona, ends up in Tampa. Next thing you know, he wins the Super Bowl with the best player ever at home. And reminder, Bruce Arians is the one who is about that action when it comes to hiring black folks and when it comes to hiring women on his staff. That's what I'm going to remember him for. So I'm glad that he got to put things in place the way he wanted it to, giving Todd Bowles another shot, particularly when black coaches don't typically get second shots after the first time. I love the way that this has gone on in terms of a transfer of power situation. As for Brady, sure, you do whatever makes him happy. I'm glad they were able to do this in a way that didn't embarrass the franchise, and they're the ones that do it right. They've had more black head coaches than any other team in the history of the league.
Emily Kaplan, your thoughts on Bruce Arians stepping down, Todd Bowles taking over for Tampa?
So I'm not going to speculate on Brady's role in this because the truth is none of us know. I mean, I talked to Peter King, who broke the story this morning. Even he doesn't know what role Tom Brady had in this. We do know, though, that Tom Brady was sitting in the front row of their press conference today. So if anything, he knows good gamemanship. And another thing that we know is that Bruce Arians has always had this commitment to his assistants and has told people, I want to have a succession plan where I give my program over to one of my assistants while it's in good shape. And when Clinton talks about him creating opportunities for minorities, whether it's black men or women, it's not just giving them opportunities, it's putting them in the best position to succeed. And I think of Todd Bowles and the first opportunity he got with the Jets, he was not in a position to succeed with that team. We think about David Culley and what he was with the Texans last year. He was a dead man walking. So to be a black head coach in this league with Tom Brady as your quarterback and a ready-made team to win Super Bowls, that's an incredible position to put him in, and good on Bruce Arians for allowing it to happen.
Harry Lyles Jr. on the position the Buccaneers find themselves in today.
Yeah, Tony, to Emily's point, Bruce Arians has always kind of been about these diverse hires, and something that he mentioned today, whether or not you want to buy into whatever rumors about Tom Brady and his involvement in this, Bruce Arians said it was easier for him to hand this over because Tom Brady was coming back, because he wanted to leave it in the best shape possible for Todd Bowles. So I think that this is, if you're a Bucs fan, this is the type of succession plan that you want. Todd Bowles, honestly, is somebody that probably shouldn't even be there at this point because he should have been hired in one of the last two coaching cycles along with Byron Leftwich. So the fact that they've been able to keep him on, and basically what Todd said during the press conference is that, hey, I'm going to do it my way, but we're going to expand upon what we already have. And I believe that that's going to be a great plan for them. Obviously, he's had success there. And honestly, his relationship with Bruce Arians goes back even farther than the last few years because he played for him at Temple when Arians was the head coach at Temple. So I think it's a good plan for them.
Frank Isola, as I bring you in here, one note. A coaching change or a coach stepping down at the end of March usually would put a team behind a huge 8-ball. Do you feel that's the case for Tampa?
Yeah, I think you're saying if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck here, clearly something is up. Who steps down at this time? You can't imagine. You have to figure that Tom Brady may have had something to do with it. Maybe it's as simple as this. Bruce Arians figures, you know what? I've had health issues in the past. Maybe I don't want to work with Tom Brady anymore. Maybe Tom Brady doesn't like him. The one thing about all these stories, it's never one thing. It's always a combination of a bunch of little things. And I liked Todd Bowles when he was here in New York. Maybe what hurt him was that last offensive play by the Rams. Remember the long bomb? Then they ended up kicking the field goal and winning the game. I like what they did. They keep it in-house. Todd Bowles will take care of the defense. They have the offensive coordinator. He and Tom Brady, just like they had in New England, are simpatico. So I think from that standpoint, the transition is easy. But you can't look at the way this all went down and not say, there's nothing there. There's something.
There's always a conspiracy theorist. And Frank, is everybody all right with what Frank's throwing out there, Clinton Yates?
No, I mean, it doesn't matter whether or not the reason is bad or good. This looks fine on the surface. I just talked yesterday about how so many things in NFL front offices happen in public that should happen behind closed doors. The thing happening in public with the Buccaneers is the good thing. So I'm going to give
Emily Kaplan?
But he isn't.
Yeah. No, and the one thing I would say is, again, none of us know Tom Brady's role in this. And the one question I do have is about that defense, because since Todd Bowles got there, it's been a top 10 DVOA defense. And I feel like coordinators are really good at X's and O's. Head coaches need to be CEOs and leaders of men. So who they come and bring in at the defensive play calling will be important.
Sure. But I was trying to get you to talk on Frank Isola having all these conspiracies.
I'm not responding to his conspiracy theories, no.
Frank, you could have the last word.
Opt out.
Well, I love how everyone says, well, you don't know if Brady had something to do with it. That's exactly my point. You don't know that. And let's remember, you are a guy that won a Super Bowl is stepping down as coach and handing over to a guy that's a sub-500 coach. I think Todd Bowles deserves a second chance. I think he'll be good. But don't make it sound like, oh, yeah, that's right. It makes all the sense in the world. That's not the case.
We've been horned. We'll move on. The United States men's national
happened 4 years ago was a disaster. That sloppy field in Trinidad and Tobago when they couldn't get a result and you miss out on the World Cup. And you know what, this year we know all about Italy's not there, Egypt's not there, Sweden's not there, Colombia's not there. Great teams get left out. For the U.S. and the draws tomorrow, they could get a little lucky too. Let's face it, over the past 15, 20, 16 years, the big deal has been getting into the knockout stage. That is at least the bar. It's not qualifying anymore. It's getting out of your group and at least getting to the knockout stage.
So after the failure of not qualifying, you think qualifying is still not enough. It's about getting into the knockout stage. Yeah. Harry Lyles Jr.?
Not only do I think that, I think the whole program thinks that.
Okay. Harry?
Yeah, I think last night was really about relief. The bar for this team always has seemed to at least, right, you should be at the dance, right? You should qualify. So I think there's a lot of relief there, but I think that, they should also get a measure of credit here for putting themselves in a position to where you don't have to win that game last night in order to qualify. I do think that, while they perhaps didn't look as good as people wanted them to, this is still a step forward because not qualifying in 2017 was such an embarrassment that it's like, okay, something absolutely has to change here. And I think long term, this is even better because this is the youngest U.S. Olympic qualifying team, World Cup qualifying team. And so even if you don't feel great about them in this upcoming World Cup, there's something to look forward to in the future.
Emily Kaplan.
So last night taught me absolutely nothing about this team because all they need to do is not lose by 6 goals, which is something the program hasn't done in 65 years. So all we know is that they're not chokers. That said, I don't want to diminish the fact that they did qualify for the World Cup because it's significant, because it's showing progress in the program. And that's really what it's been about for Greg Berhalter. If you think about his team, he's had 50 matches as head coach, used 88 different players, including 21 guys for the first time. We're still figuring out what this team is. And there's so many of these elite, excellent players, like Christian Pulisic in the world champion Chelsea, who are getting all this experience in FA Cups and Champions League, that playing, I know I'm bad, but whatever.
Chelsea
the fact
reference.
is, they're not even in their prime yet. Christian Pulisic's 23, so just making this World Cup and then seeing him in their prime in the next World Cup shows that we're moving forward as a country.
And Clinton Yates.
Yeah, that next World Cup, which will be hosted, here, is the big deal here. You don't have to worry about qualifying again for the better part of a decade. So developmentally for USMNT, this is massive. Not only is the younger team doing well in terms of how they had to get on the different World Cup cycle, these younger players are players that people know, which is a big battle. They're playing over in Europe. Getting eyeballs to this is still a part of what this team is doing in terms of the popularity of the team. I think it's massive. Whether or not they got in on a win or a loss is a different matter, but they're there, and that's something that they can say that they did.
So last word.
And that's the thing. Everyone was totally right about these young players. Weston, McKennie, Pulisic, and probably the best player of them all, Gio Reyna. Hopefully they'll stay healthy. Cross our fingers that happens. To see these guys, I'm telling you, depending on the draw, and they could be a favorable draw tomorrow, they can get out of the group. It's always important to get to at least
the draw tomorrow. Here's a bet. Ghana, Portugal, the United States,
right.
and then you maybe.
It always happens. That's right.
Or maybe you get Qatar.
You know,
That's what
he knows
everybody's
his
hoping
history.
for, I think, of course. We'll move on. One more story here. Suns 107, Warriors 103 last night. Phoenix's 9th straight win, which feels like they've had a streak like that every other week this year. They tied their franchise record with 62 wins, and they can break that, of course, and they probably will break that this week. Put you on the spot right now, Harry Lyles Jr. These Suns versus the field to win the title. Who you got?
I'm taking the Suns. We keep talking every week about what if for this team, what if for that team, right? Whether it's the Celtics, the Nets, the Lakers. This is the one team that has been consistent all year. And the thing that to me that sticks out about them is they're 17-1 in clutch situations this year, where it's 5 points or less margin in the game and 5 minutes or less. So not only are they winning, and they're winning big sometimes, but they're also winning almost every single one of the close games. Give me the Suns.
Emily Kaplan, Suns or the field?
I'm actually going to take the Suns too, and for me, it's because of their depth. 6th in man game loss this year, and think of how successful they've been. And they've only had their big three together for 33 of 60 games. And unlike the Nets' big three, we actually know there's proof of concept that the Suns' big three is very good when they're together. So all healthy. I like them in the playoffs.
Clinton Yates, Suns or the field?
There's the reason why I'm picking the Suns. The Suns have a 9-game better differential than any other team in the NBA. They've got the best home record. They've got the best road record. Harry mentioned the best clutch record. They also have the best point differential, and they're the only team in the NBA that's top 3 in offense and defense. I'm sorry. You look at those things, that's a pretty good pick as far as what team that can go to the NBA Finals.
All right, so 3 now. 3 for 3. And I'm hearing I'm sorries. I'm hearing actuallys. You don't have to be sorry. This is not an actually. This is a team with 62 and a 14 record who went to the finals last year. Frank Isola, is it 4 for 4?
Kobe-like as we've seen in the NBA. That guy's got a toughness about him. Do you realize they're on a 9-game winning streak? They've already had 3 of those this year of at least 9 games. The rest of the league combined has 4. They are wiping the competition off the floor.
All right, so, I mean, you're on the record. It's still March.
Oh, shit.
We go through April, May, and June, but it's already been decided. You know, Frank, you remember, because we know each other a long time, in '95 I came up with this phrase, and this is how the phrase goes: never underestimate the heart of a champion,
good,
right? I came up with that.
Good job,
Everybody's underestimating the Bucks, I guess. All right.
I'm
Noted.
underestimating Frank as a show's
Monty
promoter.
Williams, shout out.
yourself.
You're doing a great job, brother.
For his ejection last night. You've seen it, let's see it again. Is there any contact, any whisker of Lance Stevenson's chinny chin chin?
No.
By Rivers? No, it's not him. But is clearing out the elbow like that enough to get a technical? And the technical that ejected Austin Rivers from an important game last night, Clinton?
Absolutely not. That's a simple ball fake to get your defender off you, which last time I checked is called playing hoops on a basic level. I don't understand how this call happened, and it's even more unfortunate that it ended up getting thrown out of the game. Whack.
Emily Kaplan?
This is why we need accountability and transparency from refs, because watching this, the only thing I'm led to believe is that Austin Rivers was being a little squirt all game. They're just looking for a reason to throw him out, and they found this. There has to be another reason. I just want to hear it.
Harry Lyles Jr.
Yeah, Tony, I understand there was a little chippiness in this game, but this was definitely not worthy of an ejection. I know it came on a second technical foul, but if you're the official and you're looking at Austin Rivers, you got to give him a little bit of leeway here when you're going up against a Lance Stevenson, a guy that's known as an agitator. He didn't cross the line. It shouldn't have been a tag.
And Frank Isola.
That's right. Lance Stevenson famously once blew in LeBron's ear. That was more violent than what happened to him last night. Tony Brothers is a veteran referee. I get it. If you swing your arm through, that's one thing. He did not do that. And by the way, Denver in this game, that was a close game when he got ejected.
Yeah.
You know that they were leading 43-15 after one quarter? The 28 points was the largest point differential by any team this year in the first quarter. And Indiana came all the way back.
Buy or sell two, Brian Cashman to the Athletic intoning. The only thing that stopped the Yankees from getting to the World Series was something that was so illegal and horrific. Quote, the only thing that was so stopped us from getting to the World Series was something that was so illegal and horrific. He's talking, of course, about the Astros cheating scandal. He says he gets offended when people say the Yankees have had a World Series drought. He says they did it the right way. They were derailed by a cheating circumstance. Frank Isola, this is your account. Buy or sell Brian Cashman there.
Aren't the Yankees involved in a little mini scandal as well with the Apple Watch and whatever it was with the Boston Red Sox as well? Tony, what this comes down to is, and he's wrong about this, this is why you wish George Steinbrenner was still alive when the Astro scandal happened. It would have been on the back pages every day for months on end, he would have said, we need to replay that series again. But Brian Cashman's wrong.
Harry Lyles Jr.
Yeah, Tony, another part of this was he said that he's over it, and I'm selling that because if he was over, he wouldn't have brought it up to me. And then he also made the very grand assumption that they would have beaten the Dodgers in the World Series. And if the cheating was so egregious and the Dodgers still took them to 7 games, what makes you think that you would have beat them? I'm not buying any of this.
Emily Kaplan.
Yeah, I look forward to the day that the Yankees put that plaque for playing the right way in Monument Park. It's going to be really big. And I also look forward to Brian Cashman's press conference where he explains how the 2000 and 2009 Yankees are there despite multiple players being linked to PEDs. I'm pretty sure the number's double digits.
Ooh. There's some heat from the panel today. And Clinton Yates hearing Brian Cashman's over it, but hearing him, air the laundry like that.
This is colossally lame for a franchise with that kind of power. I just feel that, if you think that was the only thing stopping you from getting a World Series title, buddy, then maybe you don't need to be doing that job. Sidebar, the Astros, that cheating team, they lost to some other teams in the World Series as well. One of them's from D.C.
Buy or sell 3, National Player of the Year, Aaliyah Boston. This was a season-long debate, and it was intense. Iowa's Caitlin Clark or South Carolina's Aaliyah Boston. Caitlin Clark, first player in history to lead the league in scoring and assists. And Aaliyah Boston breaking records on double-doubles. Harry, who you got, Clark or Boston?
Going with Boston here. She was the best player in the country on the best team in the country. She had a 27 consecutive game streak of double-doubles, but I do want to give Caitlin Clark her due. I said this on the show last week, and I got called out on Twitter for it by somebody who said it is impossible that some chick is the most exciting player in college basketball, and that player is Caitlin Clark.
Frank Isola.
Yeah, and Caitlin Clark may be the most exciting offensive player, but what you like about Aaliyah Boston, not only is she a dominant player offensively, she gets it done on the defensive end of the court. She's also Defensive Player of the Year. That says something.
Clinton Yates.
Yeah, unanimous All-American, also the SEC Player of the Year. When it comes down to it, if I'm trying to win, I'm picking Boston to win that basketball game on the playground and anywhere else on the court.
Kaplan.
Yeah, I think this really comes down to your definition of the award. And Caitlin Clark has been transcendent in eye-popping offensive numbers, but as Frank said, Aaliyah Boston has been the catalyst for the best team in the country and the most consistent on offense and defense. And honestly, let's celebrate defense in basketball. We often don't do that.
Emily, I think you have a little quibble maybe with that horn coming in the middle of your answer. I think you want transparency and accountability from the horn. That's what you need. Not enough, though. Thanks, Clinton. Thanks.
I would have won Showdown if I was in it.
Harry Lyles Jr., Frank Isola. Showdown, 2 minutes. At the presser, Holloway took a moment to thank his national quarterfinal St. Peter's players who came to support their former coach. Coach had him stand up, said he wouldn't be there without them, and they got a standing O. How great is that? So now he moves on to his alma mater. And I got a question, Harry. Over or under 1 Elite 8 for Shaheen Holloway and Seton Hall?
I'm going over. He's a young coach. He knows what he's doing. And, hey, who am I to doubt that he would be able to do that after what he just did with St. Peter's and the teams that they beat?
Frank Isola?
He's going to be in a position to get great players. I'm going to go with my head, not my heart. I say probably under, but I'm so happy for the guy. Let me tell you something. The entire student body, Seton Hall alums, everyone wanted this to happen.
Yeah.
There is no school happier than their choice of coach than Seton Hall.
Fact is, I think he had this probably before the run that got them to the national quarterfinal.
That's right.
Way is what you call it when you got 8 teams left. But of course, I was baiting Frank to say he wasn't going to do it. We're giving a point to say he could do it. Point Lyles. We'll move on. Earlier this week, we did a story, best story of the week, actually. Eric Church fans are upset with him canceling a concert so he can go to UNC Duke in person. So now this from Justin Bieber's concert in Montreal this week.
And Austin Matthews is really doing some work here in Montreal. How's that playoff spot looking for you guys?
Everybody knows.
Emily Kaplan.
Bieber's a Maple Leafs fan, of course. He just designed the jerseys. So the Canadiens fans in Montreal, not a fan of that. And he was trolling them. Frank, where did he come down on Bieber trolling the fans of Montreal? Where did he come down on Montreal fans booing him for saying go Leafs?
It sounded like Emily Kaplan screaming at him. If he's so confident why is he scheduling concerts during the playoffs? If he's so confident in the Maple Leafs. Oh, wait, that's right. They'll be out in the second round. Good job.
Frank, you are
We'll
such
get
a
to see him.
hater. This is unbelievable. Harry?
I thought it was completely fair. And hey, look, even if that just went poorly for him, if you're Justin Bieber, you might get booed for your sports take, but you're going to get cheered afterward for whatever song you're going to play because everybody's there for you.
Love it. Love it that the Montreal fans booed him.
What does he do,
That's
that?
great.
Isn't that the
Harry Lyles Jr., today's champion. 30 seconds of fame.
I just wanted to further shout out Shaheen Holloway. I think one of the things that everybody loves about March Madness and an underdog is people love to see themselves within the underdog. And I love that he took that to the next level when he got his job at his alma mater and he brought his St. Peter's Peacocks team there to be like, hey, this is the reason why I'm there. We need to see more of that in college athletics and see coaches treat these kids what they are, and they're human. And I thought that that was great by him, and I'm wishing him future success in his next job at Seton Hall.
Well done, Harry Lyles Jr., today's champion. Thanks, guys. 23 and a half hour break.
Hands up
See you
with the stars,
tomorrow.
Frank.
Happy tape.
We see.